territories. Because without peace and without security, there can be no development, and the attainment of even the basic UN Millennium Development Goals, which have been set as a target for the developing world, will remain a dream in areas that are plagued with conflict. And the world does face, let's acknowledge it, the challenge of violence and hatred everywhere. And you've only got to look around you. You see genocide unfolding in Darfur. You see Somalia racked by clan strife. You see Eritrea and Ethiopia poised to go back to war with each other. In Iraq, dozens of people blown up every single day. In Afghanistan, wrecked by lawlessness and murder and fueled by drug money. In Colombia, 3 million people displaced from their homes, and perhaps even more child soldiers than in any other country. So everywhere you look, these things are happening. And with tomorrow's bicentenary of the abolition of the Atlantic slave trade in mind, we, I think, also should remember this evening the millions and millions of people around the world who are still living in servitude. It's estimated there are 126 million children worldwide in the worst forms of child labour, 1 in 12 of the world's 5 to 17-year-olds, and 74 million of them under 15 in dangerous and hazardous occupations. 300,000 child soldiers engaged in armed conflicts. Millions of people trapped in bonded labour. The growing evil of people trafficking. So in the face of all this persecution, violence and bloodshed, we desperately need the moral leadership and guidance that we can look for to His Holiness to provide. And he gave the community very distinguished service before he came to his present exalted position in education, in agriculture, in West Africa. He returned from there to Pakistan, where he was responsible for the transformation of Rabwa into a green and flourishing city with advanced education, now, alas, being deliberately run down by a jealous and hostile religious extremist community, as the recent inquiry, which was commissioned by the Parliamentary Human Rights Group, has just demonstrated. Huzur was elected Khalifa in April 2003, and I've seen that in many of his sermons he has emphasized what is called the Rahmaniyat of the gracious God. This is the divine quality of kindness, compassion and benevolence spoken of by the Holy Prophet and by his own predecessor, the promised Messiah. And that strikes a particular chord with me as a Buddhist, I must say, because of its similarities to the virtues of loving kindness that we're enjoined to cultivate. His Holiness has spoken about the need for respect between members of the family, and indeed we have to acknowledge that in today's world, the loss of social cohesion begins at home, where all too often children aren't brought up in loving and harmonious family units. In an address to neighbours of the London Mosque, he said last November, quoting an injunction from Allah in the Holy Quran, calling on everybody to show kindness to parents, relatives, orphans, the needy, companions, neighbours and the traveller. I have the fear that without the environment that kind of injunction requests people to listen to, where there's peace, tolerance and forbearance, and above all love, it's going to be harder to create a society in which the next generation can bring these characteristics to bear and to enable the conflicts which plague mankind to be solved. But the example of the Ahmadiyya community, which does practice and propagate this Rahmaniyat at all levels, from the family through the local community, all the way up to international relations, that's a wonderful influence. And it's great we have in this splendid mosque, the largest in Europe, a reminder of the values which it represents. In asking His Holiness to address us, we thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for their presence here in the UK and throughout the world, and we humbly and respectfully thank Huzur for the example that he provides, not just for his own community, but for the whole of the human race.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. All the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessing of Allah be upon you. Before I start my formal address, I feel it appropriate and necessary to thank Lord Eric Avery